So now I'll look at option 3, the root notes and simultaneously the chord shapes. What you'll get to see is that till the fourth key, that is the key of C, we will not have made any changes to the chord shapes that come about naturally. That is, when we apply, we take B as our starting point, take the root notes and apply the constraint A, that in our case is play the chord shape that fits within group 4. And I'll not have to tinker around with any chord shape till I get to the fifth key and the chord G minor, where the change will come about because of the guideline C. I mean, look at it when we get there. So let me start with the root notes for option 3, B, E, A for the first key. The chords will be so. Then for the root notes E, A, D, I'll be choosing these three as chords. For the next A, D, G, we'll go with these three. Now for D, G, C, D, G, C, we'll go with, we'll go with these three chord shapes. Now for the last one, where we have a certain problem, which is we go with G minor. So the root notes being G, C, F. What's going to happen here is, if I choose my G minor here, what would have happened is that the last chord of the previous key was C major and the melody note being at G. If I choose G minor, played so, the melody note happens to move forwards in an ascending direction, that is G to B flat. Now that is not the direction of the melody line that we had when we started with the first key change. Look at our first key change, or at the chord of A. When we move to the chord E minor, look at how we've moved backwards in pitch, that is from A to G. So we had a descending pitch at the first key change, and we want to observe the similar kind of direction in every key change. Hence, when we shift from C major here to G minor here, the melody line is going from G to B flat. We don't want to have that, so I'm going to hunt for G minor at a different place within the same group, that is group 4. So I'm taking the root note G out here and playing it instead in the 5th fret of the D string, and I play it as the first inversion, G minor. What that will do is that it will hold my melody note on the same pitch for the two chords. So for C major, my G is here; for G minor, my G is here. And remember, with our discussion in the previous section, holding on to the pitch, that is no change of pitch, is also okay, because we have a generally descending melodic line. Right? So let's go through all the 12 key changes done in option 3. Root notes pattern, option 3. Key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4, key 5, key 6, key 7, key 8, key 9, key 10, key 11, key 12. Remember, key 13 is the same as key 1, and we started off with. So this is B minor, E, A. While we start off playing it here, B minor, E, A, A. Now look at the position shifts that we have done. The span that we have covered is B minor played here. The lowest position was position 4 that we started off with, and the highest position that we've hit is position 11 here with the chord A major out here. Right, so we've covered a span of 7 frets, 4 to 11, 11 minus 4 is 7, and we've played all 12 keys there. So there you have it. Now what's remaining in this discussion is that why did we choose P4 in the first place, and now we're going to tackle it in the next section. So finally, to the question of why did I use the perfect fourth interval for switching between keys, I'd like to start off by saying that overall it is a personal choice, though I'd also like to note a few points that have helped me base my decision. Point A says that it sounds good in major keys. Now if you recall from the previous part, we've always been switching in major keys. For example, we move from the key of A major to the key of D major to G major to C major to F major, and so on and so forth. If you also recall from the previous part, we were not only interested in the melodic line that got formed when joining the chords in a single key, but also between the chords across keys And that point was specifically referred to as the point of switching. Now the melodic line that gets formed at the point of switching is completely dependent on the intervallic jump of our choice. Now let me explain this a bit. Let's say I have key 1, and key 1 has a melodic line because of joining the melody notes of each of those chords in that progression. Similarly, I have a melodic line in key 2. Now the choice of our interval, that is, let's say I have chosen P4, now that becomes a bridge between these two keys, and it results in a total melodic line which has a certain quality to it. Now the certain quality of that melodic line might be appealing to me, but it could so happen that it isn't appealing to you as much as it appeals to me. So this is where I'd like to talk a bit about the nature of melodic lines, in that the same melodic line could appeal to different people differently. Now the reason for that is, one, that it is intrinsic to human nature, and two, that it depends so much on the amount of exposure that our ears have had to appreciating different kinds of melodic lines. Having said that, if we were switching in minor keys instead of major keys, I might have chosen a different intervallic jump. I'll hold on to that thought because I think there's a video coming later that will address just that. So to point B that says there's a subtle change when we move from one key to the next. Now this has got to do with the theory of Western music. Let me take the example of the key of C, where there are 0 flats. When I move a perfect fourth above to the key of F, the note B in the key of C gets flattened to the note B flat in the key of F. Hence this note B flat is the only note different between both these keys. Similarly, when I move from F, a perfect fourth above, to B flat, one note in the key of F, that is E, gets flattened to E flat and becomes the note that is the only different note between these two keys, that is F and B flat. Now a similar thing happens when I move in the other direction, that is in perfect fifths, from the key of C, let's say, which has got 0 sharps, to the key of G, which has got 1 sharp, that is F sharp, and hence that note becomes the only note that is different between both the keys. Now the single note difference in the two keys that you're switching between creates what I like to call as a smooth transition or a smooth flow from one key to the next, and hence P4s and P5s are great choices as far as switching keys or changing between keys is concerned. Now to point C, which says that the choice of our intervallic jump could also depend on the progression that we are playing. So in this ongoing series, we've been playing the progression 2-5-1. Had we played a different progression like 1-4-5 or 2-7-1, what would have happened is that, for starters, we would have had a different melodic line. So let's say in key 1 we have a melodic line that comes about because of the progression 2-7-1. Similarly in key 2 we have a melodic line that comes up because of the same progression. Now again, the choice of our interval, which is going to become the bridge between these two melodic lines, would affect the total quality of the melodic line that comes about, and hence, which is why I keep asserting, and that whole point or the concept of a personal choice comes into play here again. Now with this thought, I'd like to bring this ongoing series of practical application of chordal inversions to a closure. I'd like to say that I have strived continually throughout this series to arrive at a skeleton framework which was based on logic, reasoning, and of course musicality, to create a template through which we could address not only the progression 2-5-1 but many other progressions, and in doing so over and over and over again, by which I mean applying that logic over and over again, what would essentially happen that we could develop within ourselves a certain sense, a certain ability or musicality to be able to pick out those melodic lines between chords in chord progressions and also between chords when we switch keys. Now with that, I'd like to conclude by hoping that you folks really like the content that I presented in this video series as much as I enjoyed in being able to present it to you folks.